Hello, hello. Welcome on to Branded. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and beyond the brand. I'm really excited to bring you today's episode because this is really a topic that I don't think I've ever really addressed, and I don't actually hear a lot of people talking about it. Patience. How to have patience, what to do during these phases of life and business when our patience might feel like it's being tested a little bit, when it feels a little bit harder and scarier to lean into having patience versus, being busy and doing all of the time. So I titled today's episode, Patience is Not Passive, It is Active Trust. Now, this is not something that I came up with all in my own. When I was dropping Adam off at the airport a couple weeks ago, I was listening to a Joe Dispenza YouTube something or another. And I heard this while I was sitting in traffic, and it was, him saying all of these different phrases. But the one that really stood out to me in that moment was patience is not passive, it is active trust. And it really got me thinking about what we do during these moments that might feel like a little bit of a lull between super busy seasons, or maybe there's something that you've been doing in your business or in your life, and it has had you on full speed for so long that when you finally get to a moment of pause, you don't really know what to do with yourself. And in turn, you might start feeling guilty for not doing enough because you're just so used to having been in that mode of doing so much for so long that patience actually feels like something you start to feel guilty about having a little extra time and all of that. So this concept of patience really got me considering how important it actually is to sort of have these valleys throughout the journey of building a business, and honestly, just life in general, right? We all have these peak moments where we're climbing the mountain and it's like really fucking hard. But once we get to the top, it just feels so good. We get this burst of endorphins. We feel amazing. We've accomplished something. We've hit a goal. But then you're kind of like soaring down the hill on the way to a valley. And that is really when patience comes into play, because you actually have an incredible opportunity to do some self-reflection, hone some of your skills, connect a little bit deeper with some of your current or future clients, right? There's this moment that you're being given to really lean in and practice patience. But more times than not, what do we end up doing? We end up complaining that we're not busy enough. We end up complaining that we don't have enough clients. We end up feeling guilty about not doing enough. So I want to give you a little bit of some tips on when you're in that phase of where it feels like you're having to be patient for something. You maybe don't have the clients rolling in. You're not getting the engagement you want. Your business just feels like it's in a little bit of a lull. It's okay. There are phases to everything. Phases, right? There's always an up and a down, a yin and a yang, a dark and a light. Like everything has this balance to it. And so when you're in that moment of really having to practice your patience, there's ways of being super duper productive within that. One of them being really defining and refining your skills. If there is something in your business or in your life that you just have been telling yourself, I wish I had the time to really learn this. I wish I had the time to dive in a little bit deeper. If you're ever finding yourself saying, I wish I had the time to do ... fill in the blank, that this is your time. If you're feeling that moment of like, gosh, I need to have this active trust that I know what I'm really, really working towards is on its way to me, these are the things you can be doing, right? Refine your skills, connect deeper with the people that you're having conversations with, really get to know them, get to know their businesses, get to know what it is that they're really seeking to help enrich their own life, because it could mean that it's something that you could learn to enrich your own life and your own business as well. And honestly, it's a fantastic time to really dive in and do some of your own inner work. Like, there's so much productivity that can happen within patience. You don't necessarily always have to be doing something at all times. I came across a quote recently. So I've been reading Masterful Marketing, really fantastic book. And, I was thinking when I read this quote, you can't expect miracles to happen when you're busy rationalizing why something doesn't work. It takes commitment, consistency, and time. That right there encapsulates patience to me. You can't expect things to just sort of fall out of thin air. Like what I'm doing today in my life, creating the consistency, right? I'm committed to recording and publishing one podcast episode a week. I've made that commitment to myself, and it has truly enriched my own business, my own life, as well as the people that get to tune in and listen to it as well. So that's a commitment right there. I'm staying consistent with it. I have not missed a week since February 2023 when I launched this podcast. I have put one out every single week. And this has all happened over time, right? I started with 0 listeners. You start a business with 0 clients, right? It all has to start from somewhere, and all of it takes time. So within that time of you being consistent, committing to the promises that you're making to yourself and to your business, and allowing it to be like really brought to life over time, that is truly patience. There is so much strength in being patient with yourself and being patient with the process. I mean, this whole journey of building a business and understanding what it really feels like and looks like to create something from scratch, oh my gosh, it is not for the faint of heart. Like at all. When I first started this journey back in 2021, whenever I got into network marketing, I'll be honest, there was a lot of hype being shared, to get people excited, which is great, right? There's this fine line of like hype and sort of not telling people the full truth. And I'm not saying that's what happened to me. But I am saying that I think I was really looking through some rose-colored glasses when it came to what it really looked like to be an entrepreneur. And now this is from coming from my past experience of seeing my parents be self-employed their entire life. For the most part, my mom worked for some people until I was like 12 or so. But anyways, seeing them live paycheck to paycheck all the time, it really made me not want to ever start my own business, right? I was just like, I got a bad taste in my mouth. We were broke all the time. They were struggling. It was always like, this lack was just always kind of around us. And I always kind of attributed it to them running their own businesses and it just being really, really hard to do. Now, that's a true statement. It is really hard to do. But I also think that there's a way of being your own boss and running your own business that doesn't have to feel super hard. And honestly, I think such a huge, huge part of that is understanding that some moments you just have to have patience. You just have to have that active trust in the journey that that all the shit that you're doing today will, in fact, bring a result tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. I mean, it is quite literally a compound effect of how you grow a business. It is not an overnight thing. And I think that social media would have us think that there is this insane immediacy that can happen. Oh my gosh, something can go viral and 24 hours later, you're a millionaire. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. That's not the world that I live in. I actually want to produce something from a slightly more sustainable level. Sustainable in the way that how I'm operating today the amount of hours I'm working, the amount of work that I want to commit to putting into my business, that I'm not going to have to triple or quadruple that tomorrow because all of a sudden something went viral. That's not sustainable to me. And, there's some people that blew up their businesses, like in a good way, right? Their businesses just took off once the pandemic happened because everybody flooded into the online space. And there was so much opportunity, and is still so much opportunity, to grow a business online. But I think the way business is happening now in the online space is really a reflection of how actual business in the real world happens. People have stopped sort of being won over by the glitz and the sparkly things and the trends and the viral stuff. It's less effective, in my opinion. And maybe that's just obviously my own opinion. I don't find myself being drawn to the trendy viral things anymore. I'm actually kind of annoyed whenever I see them. I'm like, ugh, enough already. Seen it. I like to see authenticity. I like to see something I haven't seen before. I like to see somebody who actually looks like a real human expressing real emotion and desiring real connection. And that's totally possible, even in the online space, which is so freaking packed with people. The world is, in a way, smaller than it's ever been. You can connect with people across the world in a moment's notice. And it's just wild. To go from having like no cell phone at all, you got maps that are paper and you just know how to get places. And then now to this age of technology where absolutely everything is at our fingertips, patience is not something people are good at anymore. It's not something that actually is practiced all that much anymore because we have such a life of immediacy, right? Things have to get done right now. This task has to be done right now. But there's so much beauty in the process. There's so much beauty in figuring out how something is done and refining your skill of it. And so I wanted to share this message with you guys today. I thought somebody would really appreciate this because as we're going into, as this episode is recorded, we are getting very near the holiday season and life can feel so busy right now. There's this moment around the holidays where it's almost like there's just never enough hours in the day. There's so many people that are needing things from you. Things have to get done. Deadlines are crazy, end of year stuff. If you have kids, oh my gosh, the sports, all the things. It's a really hard time. And so I wanted to bring this to the forefront of your mind to really help you remember having patience for something is not you giving up, throwing in the towel and being like, well, fuck it, whatever. I guess I'm just like never going to reach that goal. No, have patience for the process because your patience and understanding, right? When you don't guilt yourself into being patient with the journey, you're actively trusting that the journey is happening, is working, and that you're doing something every single day to make it happen. So as I wrap up, I want to give you guys a couple tips of things you might do while you're practicing patience, while you're actively trusting the journey. You could be building out a website. You could be refining your offers. You could be connecting with new people, starting new conversations. You could be batch recording podcast episodes, live videos. You could be rolling out new offers, putting them together. There are so many things that can happen. All the while, you absolutely could still be making money. But let's say you're on a weight loss journey. Having that active trust means maybe you have an apple instead of some ice cream, right? You're actively trusting the journey, and you know that that one apple is not going to make you lose 50 pounds. And you also know that eating that one pint of ice cream isn't going to make you gain 50 pounds. But you understand that making that decision, making that actively trusted choice in the journey of having the apple instead of the ice cream is huge, because the next day you're going to make a good choice also. And then the day after that, you're going to make another good choice. And before you know it, boom, there's your goal. It's already there waiting on you to get there. And you don't have to run. You can walk. It's okay. There are some days in my business where I am running full speed ahead and I am going like almost to the point of really burning myself out. I'll be honest. That does happen sometimes. But the balance of it all is that I know that I'm doing that. And so the next day, I give myself a little bit of a break. I don't sit in front of the computer for all hours of the day. I go outside more than I would. I go for a walk. I go play. I go bowling. I go do something that completely removes me from that go, go, go mentality. And it allows me to reset, so then I can find that balance and understand that it's okay to be patient with myself, and that I can't run at 100% every single day, all day long, because sometimes that burns me out. And so that's the simple message. Patience is not passive. It is active trust. It's essentially an active process of working towards something and accepting the journey along the way. I hope you enjoyed this short and sweet episode. I'll see you next week for a brand new one. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.